Hey there folks, Fang here, and I wanted to give my general thoughts after playing Dragon's Dogma 2. Now, this game is the sequel to the original game that was made in 2012 and that was developed and published by Capcom. The game overall builds on the foundations laid by the original game, and while it does keep very similar to the original game, I love it for that, as it really keeps its own identity that's specific to this type of game. But I do have a few gripes with it that I want to just discuss right now. I feel the story is not as good as the original story, at least in terms of the overall presentation of it, but I do like the general premise as well as the lore behind it. It follows you trying to reclaim your throne against this false arisen, and I like that idea overall, but I feel like the execution of it, and especially with the branch side quests and the arrival to Batala, that doesn't really work as well to me, and it overall just falls flat as Brand just reveals the entire storyline. You don't really get that unraveling sense of unraveling a whole conspiracy and mystery about why this guy is taking over your position. Now I do feel like the overall lore is decent for this game, kind of like how I feel with Elden Ring, or which that game's story is not really the best, but the overall lore and backstory of it is pretty intriguing. Now with the story behind us, I just want to go over the best parts of the game. That is the gameplay and the overall exploration adventure you have with it. The game essentially is basically a Lord of the Rings simulator, as you travel along with your fellowship of pawns to different lands, and you have to trek and camp and really overall experience a proper journey. That's the best way to experience the game, as its story is not that great, but the journey you have between points can be very fun, as you can experience various different dynamic encounters, and that's the key thing about it. It's dynamic. You can encounter for example griffins just flying around, and they swarm down on you, and then you can hop on it and then be taken around to a different location, and I just find that impressive, and I really wish more games had more dynamic combat like that. The locations of this game I find to be overall pretty good too, as a lot of them have very unique different styles of gameplay, such as a trickster being used to trick enemies with different fog creations, as well as the mystic spirit being a teleporting basically a Jedi of sorts, essentially, right? And then you have the warrior being more of an actually effective class in this game compared to the previous game, in which you really do feel the power behind each slash of the blade. Then you have the magic archer, which is probably my favorite class, as it's pretty much the most powerful class in the game, as you can pretty much one shot nearly any boss you find in the game. And overall I do feel the classes and vocations, while they do have a bit more limited in terms of the skills that you can use in it, they are more varied in terms of impact. As in the previous game, a lot of the classes did feel a bit similar, with, for example, many of the archer types looking somewhat similar in terms of how they perform, at least in my opinion, and the other classes the warrior not feeling as effective, and the assassin class kind of just feeling just a mix between thief and the archer class. The graphics and design of the overall game I really do love, as you can really get immersed in the world, as there's very few, if not any, loading screens in the game, as you can literally walk into different towns, unlike in the first game, and you can experience dynamic battles within those towns, for example, with different kinds of monsters attacking them and such, and you having to repel these monsters. And I just found that very impressive, and I love that. The pawn system I have to also praise for this, as it's much improved compared to the first game, as you really do get more depth with the pawns, as they have more to do in the world, such as guiding you towards different treasures as well as different quest objectives. And they also provide more utility towards you with the ability to set quests for the pawns, allowing for other players to receive rewards from working with your pawns, and that I love that part of the game, and I kind of wish they had more things like that in the game, with different ways to involve players in the game with other players, right? Exploration in this world, I do have to say, is much more improved than the previous game, as the previous game I felt the world was rather bland and boring, with a lot of dead space in between different events. But in this game, there's a lot more towns and cities to see, as well as little miniature villages to also meet, such as Harv, Melv, and the Nameless Village. And I do have to say, overall, The exploration in the game rewards you much better than the previous game, as you can experience like different kinds of caves as well as like small little like forts and like dungeons, and you get like rewarded with like different kinds of loot that like really do improve your character. As overall, I would say that Dragon's Dogma 2 is a pretty good game, although it does have its flaws, but I would give this a recommendation even at full price, although I would say for most people they would probably like wanted to get it at like a cheaper price of maybe like something under like $50 or maybe $40, right? But I would highly recommend you to try this game out if you ever get the chance, as I really feel like this game is one of the best games out there right now. Well, that should be all for this review. If you have any thoughts about it, please put that down in the comments. And if you like the game or dislike the game or had any other issues you had with it, please also put that down in the comments, as I really want to know what everyone's overall thoughts are for this game. And if you can like and subscribe, I would really appreciate that, as that would really help. And anyways, that should be all now. Thank you and goodbye.